Flory Models daily vlog. Here we are, Monday the 29th of February 2016. So we get an extra day today. Shame we didn't use it a bit more productively, being caught up with all paperwork and all that horrible stuff you have to do near the end of the month. But on the good news is, everybody's medal for the group build has gone out, apart from a handful. There's still about 6 or 7 of you haven't got in contact, and then I'm going to name and shame you tomorrow because, as I say, you haven't got into contact. I'll probably send you all a PM tonight anyway, just to remind you. But everybody else's has gone. Now, obviously, bearing in mind, they've got to go around the world. They have gone, obviously, all the ones outside the UK have all gone first class airmail, so they should be with you within the next sort of 7 to 10 days, something else like that. UK ones, they all went second class today, just because I'm cheap. But there was 60 odd of you had to go out in the UK alone, and what a lot of fun we've had over the last couple of days down the post office doing all of those. Anyway, up today you've got the next part on this little beauty, which is the Terminator. It's basically going to talk about the second part of using the weathering wash. So we use just plain water, as in cold and hot. We show the differences between doing it to actually basically pressure wash clean the model and things like that. And then about reapplying over a wet surface, which is a little trick you can do. If you want that nice faded, blendy dirt look, then what we tend to do is airbrush your model so it's completely soaking wet. Then you put the clay wash over the top and it just blends it around, makes it more muted, more natural if you like, and all the rest of it. Great for doing dioramas. If you ever want to do dioramas, buildings and stuff like that, you can actually wet it down first, then you spray on the actual clay wash. It then blends and gets into all those nooks and crannies and has a very natural look. So that is up on the site now. Then we talk about dry brushing, which is something we haven't really covered in a long time. So we actually talk about using black first, which I know a lot of people go, but honestly, it works fine. Black first, and then we come in with a grey over the top, so it gives it that heavy, sort of worn look without having silvers and all those colours, which sometimes people use, things like that. And then obviously we talk about using greys as well. So there's quite a little bit on dry brushing armour, and to be honest, the entire thing was given a dry brush scrub, so it just makes all the areas the highlights, if you like. So if it looks like, you know, things got edges where it will catch the light naturally, and it makes it have a more over sort of, you know, muted normal look right the way over it. And dry brushing is quite a handy technique, especially on armour, because it's got so many corners, edges, nuts and bolts and things like that, which you can actually rub onto. Okay, so there's going to be another part onto this one. I did think about squeezing it in, but to be honest, it would have squeezed it far too much, and we've got enough for another 30-minute part, which is going to talk about things like doing chipping work through clay wash and stuff like that, and then all ready for the final reveal at the end. And then we obviously talk about various bits and pieces with this particular build. To say it's been a lot of fun is an understatement. Really enjoyed getting back to using the wash, going through all the different techniques of using it, explaining it again, because to be honest, I haven't talked about using the wash for over a year, so it's nice to actually go back and show some of the techniques which I've played with but haven't really shown before, especially on armour and all the rest of it. But there we go, so that one is up on the site now. As you can see, we've started on the airliner. Alright, so we've got a couple of options with the markings it's going to be in. Now, to be honest, the one I'm thinking of doing, purely because of a entertainment value for you guys to see how it's done, I'm thinking about doing the Thompson one. Now, I know it's quite boring because it's just 3 colours of blue, but the way it's got like the swish and it works through it and all the rest of it, it's going to be one of those things where we're going to have to paint this very reminiscent to the real aircraft, okay? So when we're coming in with it, we're going to have to obviously mask it using very thin tape to actually get the correct lines of how it's going to go through and all the rest of it. Then come in obviously with, you know, the next shade up, then the darker, work our way out darker, and all the rest of it. Then do all the details. Then we're going to try and very lightly weather this to have a sort of, you know, a small in-scale look, because that's the trouble with airliners. Sometimes they look far too, well, you know, shiny, if you like, and toy-like. So we're going to try and make this one look quite nice. As I said, with this particular build, we are pulling out all the stops for it. So we have got all the aftermarket stuff. So down here, we've got the aftermarket. These are for the, I remember which one they are now. These are for the General Electric engines. Obviously you get 2 types of engines with this one. You get the General Electric and the Rolls-Royce. The Rolls-Royce Trent one, we have got the bits and pieces here for it, but I think with this one it's going to be more fun because they've got more of it. We can show about obviously removing them from the plugs, building the engines, because obviously it's quite a little bit of work to do in this one and all the rest of it, and then getting it all together and then mount it up. Again, the thing with this one, I'm thinking about mounting this in flight purely because the undercarriage is pretty much pants in this scale because it's 1:44, which is obviously very, very dinky, and you don't get much detail with it. So what I'm thinking is, because you can't drop the flaps and all the bits and pieces to make it look really lively, let's do it in flight and give it some nice sleek lines. So this time, instead of using like an acrylic rod as we did with the MiG-21, I'm actually thinking about this one, a bending brass rod polishing it and putting it onto a nice mahogany plinth. So having it very reminiscent to a desktop model, or one like you might find in a travel agent back in the day. Who remembers those from the 70s and 80s? Those models now are worth an absolute mint if you've got one in your garage or in your loft. But I think it'd be a lot of fun, but definitely I'm going to enjoy getting to the painting stage. And let's face it, I only started this one this afternoon. I have taken my time because this one's had a couple of coats of glue right the way around it now. But I think like the wing section clips on the bottom, those go on there and it's almost built. So it's not a lot to this one. More fun with the engines, obviously detailing those. The one thing I am finding in this build though, as you might see here, is the warp on these wings. They are absolutely horrendous. So we're going to talk about obviously warped wings and putting them together and all things like that, but generally they are a little bit of a nightmare to put these together, so we'll obviously be covering that with that in the build and everything else. Part one of this will probably be up, I imagine, next Wednesday. I've got the last part of the MIG will be up this Wednesday, and then obviously we'll go straight into this one. I'm going to start on the Halifax either tomorrow or Wednesday as well, so we're going to be pushing through with those great Halifaxes and things like that. And lo and behold, guess what turned up today? The Shackleton. So the Shackleton's here as well, and I'm thinking I've already done a multi-engine bomber. I've got the Shackleton as well, and I really want to do the Shackleton, so never mind, we'll see how we go with that particular build. So don't forget, tomorrow night we've got the live show. Steve's not joining us tomorrow, he's got more important things to do. But I'll be here, the guys are going to be here as well, so it's a lot of fun. Don't forget, it's not like the Q&A, I do the Q&A separate, so keep your Q&As coming in. But if you've got any questions for the guys here and all the rest of it, I'll post that up tomorrow afternoon in the actual forum, and you can ask the live show questions versus the Q&As for me and Steve. Because me and Steve, we're thinking about doing a special one on a Saturday morning for our Australian guys, or if you're that time zone that way, you can join us live, and me and Steve are going to do a breakfast show, literally cereal bowls, and we're going to do all things modelling for a couple of hours on a Saturday morning. It'll either be this Saturday or next Saturday, not too sure yet which way we do it, but as I said, it should be a little bit of fun. You can get your questions in live to us and we can answer them live and all things like that. So that's it for today. I'm going to carry on with the airliner and really push through with this one. Try and get this one together today if I can, and that way we can get going with filling and sanding and everything tomorrow, and then we're going to be starting on the Halifax. So there we go, that's it from today. Happy modelling, take care.